Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Thanks for taking the time to hop on.
Of course, always good to jump on with you, talk a little bit of baseball.
Welcome to episode 44 of the Dugout Report. I'm here with Shaun Kernahan, recapping the 2026 MLB Draft, and I'm excited to have him on to hear his thoughts on how it went and everything else. So, welcome.
Looks like we had some technical difficulties. I know I froze up. Am I back? Looks like you're on mute there, Alex. There we go.
I can hear you, but you're frozen still.
Weird. All right, I'm here. I'm trying to slow some things down on my side, but I'm here and ready to talk.
Okay. My first question is, what are your thoughts on how the Phillies draft went?
So the Phillies, yeah, let me take a look here real quick. Um, they didn't have the highest of picks. The first pick wasn't until 36, where they went Tyler Spangler, a guy who, if it wasn't for injuries, was probably a traditional first rounder. Instead, he goes, technically first round, but pick 36. So I think they got, a good first round value in Spangler. He dealt with some injuries this year, which really had him fall. Ruger Riojas is a guy who they did sign, and so they just signed him today. A senior sign with just massive amounts of different pitch mixes and things like that. Really interesting pick there. Home runs over there, and just a ton of power there as well. And you can just go deeper into it. Jackson Jelkin, an interesting arm. Will Gasparino, plenty of power. Center fielder, big body. Some really interesting names throughout their draft. All the way through. So I think that despite the fact they didn't pick until 36 to start with, they definitely got some extra value with quite a few guys throughout the draft.
How many of those guys do you think can make it to the majors in the next 2 to 3 years?
In the next 2 to 3 years is the key. I think Spangler would be a little bit longer than that. If we're talking the next 2 3 years, Riojas, definitely one of those guys who could be at the back end of a bullpen or back end of a rotation. As early as late next year. Jackson Jelkin. Pool could find themselves on the fringes of a roster as well in the next couple of years.
What are your thoughts on how the Pirates, Yankees, Mets, and Blue Jays did with their picks?
Yeah, we'll start with the Pirates. Derek Curiel with their first pick. 5 seemed a little bit high. Kind of surprised they didn't go for a higher upside guy or like a Jacob Lombard or EJ Booth, but they did go Derek Curiel, a guy who could hit in the big leagues probably today. He's just got that kind of advanced hit tool. Aiden Ruiz, a really good defender. Chris Rumbert can hit. Jason DeCaro, 3-year starter at North Carolina, and a guy who really young. He started his college career. He was still 17, so he just turned 20. Interesting guy there. We jump over to the Yankees, another team that didn't have a pick early on. They didn't go until 35 with Hunter Dietz. Arkansas pitching in recent years has been up and down, and Hunter Dietz is no different. So we'll have to wait and see kind of how he develops. Shaun Duncan up out of British Columbia, I think, is really good lefty, a prep lefty out of Canada who's got some real upside. And the Yankees tell you all you need to know about that. They actually signed him for the exact same signing bonus as Hunter Dietz, from what I'm seeing. So they're kind of seeing it as kind of two late ones, probably more like 2 second-round picks rather than a true number first-round pick, just based on that signing bonus number. And then you got Luke Pettit in the 8th. He's more than just Andy Pettit's son. Pitch, but his bat absolutely exploded with Dallas Baptist, and a really interesting follow there. Mets, we'll say it again. Arkansas pitching. They went Arkansas pitching again here. Carson Wiggins has some of the biggest stuff in all of baseball, but I think he threw 14 innings in college. There's real questions about his health and ability to stay healthy long term. Shane Sadeo was eligible last year, didn't get drafted because he was coming off of Tommy John. Aiden Robbins in the 3rd round, a guy who was really, really good bat for Texas. Then they go Luke McNeely, Alex Petrovic, Aiden Keenan. They went for a lot of the guys who are some higher floor, potential back end of the rotation type arms. Lefty out of Arizona State was their first pick. A guy who, really interesting metrics. His slider, metrically is one of the best in the draft, even though, it's kind of a gyro, doesn't have a whole ton of movement, but it just gets a ton of swing and miss. Ryan Cooney, a guy who out of Oregon, showed really well this year. Will Brick, a catcher in the 4th round. He was a guy who was initially a 2027 prospect, reclassified early, I think it was actually late fall, to the 2026 draft class. A really interesting guy there. There was, some thoughts that he was going to be a first rounder at one point. He just didn't have the offensive production throughout the year and falls. So again, some really high upside with Carlone and Brick. But from there, the rest of it, just kind of guys, nobody that really stands out and really wows me in their draft class beyond.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we're back. We're back. Looks like we're having technical issues here. We'll make through it. We'll get through it though.
Yeah. So, what do you think about how the draft layout was in Philly this year?
I mean, I wish that MLB cared more about the draft. There's still no players showed up. The broadcast on 3 different, after the 10th. Later of the first day, and they're starting to break down the whole set while on the broadcast. You're trying to hear guys, discuss the picks while hearing heavy machinery around. It looked like the facility was great from what I heard from some people who were actually at the draft. No complaints about the actual location and things like that. But boy, do I wish MLB cared more about the draft and the production that it is there, because they really did not put together a impressive product for the viewer.
Mm-hmm. What was the reason why they broke it down network by network instead of doing the whole afternoon on what network?
I mean, without knowing, the regular cable network NBC in the beginning, so they took that. The streaming partner with Peacock, so they went with that, and then throwing it over to MLB Network or MLB.com. To me, it was all about the money, even though it was not conducive to the average fan who was trying to follow along.
Mm-hmm. What's your prediction on how next year's draft will be like, and do you think it'll be something similar to this past draft?
I have hope for Chicago. I also have some questions and doubts just with the collective bargaining agreement and everything going on there. But hopefully once they get all that cleared up and come into an agreement, and we don't have too long of a work stoppage in the fall, and the draft goes on as planned.
What's your plan for this upcoming off season, and how you're planning on getting together grades from the draft and looking forward to the next year's draft class, and how are you preparing for everything?
So I out at Fields, I've got Sorry about that. The internet is having issues out here. My apologies for that.
Oh, good. It seems a little better than yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much you heard there, but 2027, we're already my guys here at the recorder slot. We got guys around all throughout the country. We're out at games, taking in as much video as we can. Got on the East Coast at the NECBL in the Cape, and we got somebody we at the area codes here next week. But we're working on the rankings for 2027 already. Working on recaps for the 2026 class on the site as well. So never ending. It was when that Monday after the draft ended, I told our team, "All right, time for a new cycle. That was fun. Let's get going again." Because it's kind of never ending and keeps on rolling.
What were your thoughts on the second round and how it went with the draft order? It was like,
yeah, the second round. I mean, they took away the lottery aspects. It was more traditional with the Rockies at the first and the top of the round. Some interesting picks there. Minnesota going with a catcher, their second catcher in 2 picks. The Rockies end up having 2 picks in a row there, going Daniel Jackson and Logan Reddeman. Some interesting college players there. But overall, it looks like the second round was kind of the higher frequency of high school players than round 1 was. But overall, just a really heavy college draft, and it really clearly highly promoted the hit tool, as you can, Ty Head and Jared Advincula, those types of guys going pretty early, Carson Kersey. So it was a really heavy hit tool draft, and I think the second round really highlighted that as well.
how many college games did you attend this past season, and did you get any player interviews during that time?
I didn't get a ton of games in myself just because of where I'm located, but we probably had 40 or 50 college games attended on our staff, and quite a few interviews. I was talking to quite a few of the guys who got drafted during the draft, kind of as they were going along and how it was going there. So, we don't do a ton of interviews, although that is something we're looking to add a little bit more of at the site. It was more just a lot of the off the record conversations more than the true traditional interview.
Thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to come on and talk about the draft. And I'll definitely have you back on towards the beginning of next season. And have a great off season. And I'll definitely keep in touch.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.